Entering the Mayo experience.
That Mayo experience. That Mayo experience. That Mayo experience. Experience.
Welcome to another edition of the Dog or Pass podcast. This for UFC Fight Night Mexico City. I am Paul Shaughnessy, joined in studio by the Tristan Connolly Whisperer, Cody Saftic.
Nah, whatever. You got to get one every now and again. But Connolly coming through. Very happy to see that. And we had hot takes on that card. We had hot takes on the Abu Dhabi card. And I'm not sure we have hot takes here. So that's why I'm happy to see you, Paul, because you got to help me out here a little bit.
Yeah, lessons to be learned here. This is the card that all I've been telling myself all week. We did really good on Abu Dhabi. We did amazing last week, like absolutely crushed it. This is like the week where it's just like, this is the bankroll management week where you're just like, you don't actually feel that great about a bunch of these spots.
Don't give back.
So don't give back what you have got now. You know, when we see weigh-ins, when you get a little bit more information later in the week, maybe I'll feel a little bit more strong about some of these takes. But yeah, it's just always something like, know yourself, know what you have a good read on and what you don't. Last week we thought we had a lot of really good reads and it worked out. This one, I'm gonna tread pretty carefully, to be perfectly honest. Before we get to that, though, we have a winner to announce from last week. We have Monroe DeKitty. Congratulations, you are the winner of $20 DK dollars. If you want to get into a draw to win DK dollars like Monroe DeKitty, what you gotta do is give the episode a like, leave your DK handle, and
What people have been mentioning that potentially this is the worst card they've ever seen. Now, maybe it is, and you got to actually see the fights before you can make that judgment. But it's a full card, potentially not the most interesting of fights. Main event, sorry. What is the least interesting fight on this entire card? And it could literally be everything. You could potentially say the co-main event and not have a wrong answer. And that's mostly because there are no wrong answers in the DK contest giveaway, thanks to our giveaway department, who seemingly just draws a name out of a hat.
yeah, but I'm interested to see people's answers on this. I think it would,
Oh, yeah, for sure.
it'd probably end up having to be that Smolka Holohan card, because they lost like the main event last second. Like that was pretty dire times, and that was a different era where they weren't having like 40 cards a year.
But there's a difference between bad, there's no name quality on the card, and bad, like the fights just didn't live up to
Yeah, they ended up being
expectations.
fun because it was in Ireland, and Ireland was a madhouse for MMA at the time. But
Yeah, pretty crazy how times change.
so yeah, give the episode a like, leave your DK handle, and which fight on this card are you least interested in? I can tell you one thing. It is not the main event, which has Yair Rodriguez taking on Jeremy Lil Heathen Stevens. Yair Rodriguez is 8,200, and it's pick'em between the two of them. They're both minus 110. Jeremy Stevens is 8,000. Pick'em fight here. Yair has the advantage, obviously, being in his home country. He's probably acclimatized a little bit better to the 10,000 feet of altitude. You got to factor those types of things. Don't bet on people who have historic bad gas tanks. We have a lot of women's fights and a lot of smaller fighters on this card. It's not something we're going to cross too many times until we get to Vinicius Moreira versus Paul Craig. But I think that's his advantage is probably cardio pace. But like Lil Heathen is 100% in this fight. I'm torn on it right now myself. I would probably lean to Jeremy Stevens as a DraftKings play. He's $200 cheaper. And we've seen, like, just ask Josh Emmett. Thank God he came back, because like there was questions about that. Like when this guy finishes guys, it's vicious. He gets you down. He lands some of those patented ground and pound elbows, and it's night. So like,
Man, he's
he
the
would be a
hardest hitting
cheesy
featherweight in the division. He doesn't TKO.
Who the
guys. He
fuck
knocks
is
them
that
out.
guy? Who do you got in this fight though?
Well, here's the problem. It's a fun fight, and I like the fight, but I can't get a great lean on it either way because I just don't know which version's going to show up. Yeah, you mentioned the fact that Jeremy Stevens is fun and exciting, and he's got that big power. He can crush guys, but he's also like the losingest fighter in UFC history. Not only does he have the most UFC losses, but as far as active fighters on the roster, I think most losses is Clay Guida, who I think has 19 losses. Andrei Arlovsky has 18 losses. And then you have our good friend Jeremy Stevens here with 16 losses. Like, as fun and exciting as he is, you know, he's a 50-50 fighter. So it's very hard to say, I'm going to bank either a hot lean on Jeremy Stephens. I just don't know. When he does win fights, they're obviously pretty exciting for the most part. He hits guys, he crushes them. But sometimes you just don't see enough out of him. Sometimes he waits a little bit. And that's my problem. Like, say you can look at the Moicano fight where he's just swinging at air. He's not getting there. You can look at other fights where he's just not quite getting there. He's not quite engaging his opponent. And that's what the problem is going to be here with Yair Rodriguez is. Yair Rodriguez is going to be faster than him. He's rangier than him. And if he stays to the outside, then he should be fine. But all that being said, I mean, Yair Rodriguez is super hittable. Like, his striking defense is not particularly good. He can get dragged into deep waters. And if Jeremy Stephens does what Jeremy Stephens does best, then he can give him hell. Now, as much as I thought that Jeremy Stephens is on the back nine, you know what I mean? Like, what does he have to offer? He has got that killer power. But again, we saw him struggle against a faster, athletic, rangier fighter in Moicano. He's going to get smoked by Zabit. But he fights Zabit to the perfect game plan. He pressures, he loses, but he pressures him. He gives him a good go. And if that fight's 5 rounds, pretty interesting. But he only gets 3. Now he's getting 5 rounds. And if he pressures, Zabit is, in my opinion, far better than Yair Rodriguez. If he pressures him the same way, it makes this a dirty fight. Like, and another point you brought up, you said that Yair would be more acclimatized to it. It's 10,000 feet up. Can Jeremy Stephens push a pace for 25 minutes?
I don't know where Yair is from originally in Mexico.
And the guy spent a lot of time stateside. Whereas flip side to that, Jeremy Stephens went to Mexico City like 2 months ago. He rented a house out there. He got ready. He's going to be in good shape. Then never mind. And he's bringing it. Now, as I say this,
I like Stephens even more now.
The odds makers has it as a 50-50 to begin with. So I'm leaning Stephens, but honestly, like, I have no clue. And as far as DraftKings, yeah, the $200 extra for Jeremy Stephens. Here's where I'll say I don't agree with that necessarily. Is if
he'll be more owned for sure.
He's going to be more owned because he's $200 cheaper. And if Jeremy, when he traditionally wins, he knocks guys out, right? I don't see him knocking out Yair Rodriguez. I see him going 25. I don't see Jeremy Stephens winning 25-minute long decisions.
Actually, sorry to cut you off, but when he hits guys, they don't fucking move. He doesn't actually just knock them out.
Yeah, fair enough. But outside, when has Yair been completely dominated? Okay, Frankie. But Frankie took him down and employed a completely different style of game plan that Jeremy Stephens is capable of doing. So Jeremy Stephens is going to have to outpoint this guy standing for 25 minutes. And if there's something we know with Yair Rodriguez, he's always dangerous. He always brings it. He's got decent enough cardio that he went 25 hectic minutes with Korean Zombie. He should be able to keep up a decent enough pace here against Jeremy Stephens. And when you look at his striking numbers here, Paul, let me just bring it up really quick. In 5-round fights especially, anyways, the Chang Sung Jung fight, 119 strikes landed. The Bruce Leroy fight, 120 strikes landed. He's more of an output guy, whereas when you look at Stephens' numbers, he's 30, 40, 50 strikes landed because at some point he'll just hit you and you fall over. But if this goes 25, it's going Yair Rodriguez. So to be honest, I'm thinking pass. If I was going to bet money line and it's 50-50, I guess I would lean with Jeremy Stephens. But as far as DK, I want the big points. I think I would fade the field a little bit and go with Yair Rodriguez.
Interesting.
So the ultimate thing is I'm all over the place. So
yeah, exactly.
I really am not going to invest heavy into this fight. I'm just going to enjoy it because it should be fun.
It should be very fun. Yeah,
it should be.
For all the misgiving, like for the fact that we don't have a great take on it, to be perfectly honest, but it makes sense, right? It's like sometimes fights are just matched up well. Like we can see past a victory for all guys.
It's 110-110. So you know what the bookie's saying? I'm just not going to sweat this one either, boys. I'm just going to sit back and enjoy it and make a little. So they're saying the same thing. They don't got a hot lean on it. I don't got a hot lean on it. If you've got a hot lean on it, let me know. But at the same time, like, you could be wrong as much as you're right. We don't fully know what we're going to get on Saturday. So
we got Alexa Grasso taking on Carla, your girl.
My girl,
Carla ESPARZA. Grasso, 8,400 minus 120 favorite. Carla ESPARZA, 7,800 plus 110. Is this a styles make fight situation? Because that's what kind of jumps off the page to me. But I don't want to steal your gimmick, the styles make fights. But I feel like you're going to say styles make fights here.
Yeah, well, that's what it's shaping up to be, certainly. I mean, my girl Carla ESPARZA, for all the differences that her and I have had in the past, she's been good to me in terms of
knowing when to and when not to bet her.
Yeah, if she's got a grappling advantage, she wins. If she doesn't have a grappling advantage, she loses. It's pretty much as easy as that. You look at her wins. She beat Morena Moroz. She beat Cynthia Gavillo. She beat Verna Jandaroba. She had grappling advantages over them. She lost to Tatiana Suarez. And you know what? The Claudia fight, thank God they gave it to Claudia by split. But it's like, holy shit, man. If her grappling doesn't work out, she's worked a lot on her hands. And they're not good, but she's a pressure fighter. And I like that out of her. I think she's got all the tools in the world to beat Alexa Grasso. The one thing that I will say here is, like, it's in Mexico. Grasso is in the co-main event for a reason. She's pretty. People love her. She's got a decent style that
if she can pull off a Joanna Jędrzejczyk,
far better striker.
If her takedown defense has improved significantly, she looked the best she has ever looked in her last time out.
And she's 26 years old, Paul.
But she didn't have to face a collegiate wrestler.
Fair.
And like, I'm not worried about either one of these girls gassing. I think Alexa Grasso will have maybe the cardio advantage being from there and everything like that. But I'm not worried about Carla Esparza gassing in 3 rounds.
I'm not either.
If she can get the takedowns and lay on top, like she doesn't do very much from the top.
No, but one issue that she has and she always will have is that she doesn't wear damage well. You jab her a couple times in the face and she swells a lot. It's not like her eyes are swelling shut. It's that like she
GSP.
bruises. Yeah, just like GSP, right? She bruises on the forehead. She bruises around. It looks like she's taking damage. So my worry here is that when the fight's standing, she's going to have a significant striking disadvantage. She'll try to pressure in. She's going to get counterpunched. By the way, Alexa Grasso is a good counterpuncher. She's a good boxer. That's her best fundamental skill. She's just going to stay on the outside, let Carla rush in, counterpuncher, try not to tie up. Carla probably will some point succeed in getting the fight to the ground, but it's what will the judges be scoring in that time? Will they be scoring 2 minutes of, significant striking standing, or will they be going with the 3 minutes? I don't know. So whereas we always joke around about like hometown cooking, literally every fucking card we've ever broken down, Paul, outside of the US, unless it's a hometown thing, we always talk about home cooking. And last week in BC, it didn't matter.
There was just finishes all over.
It was just finishes all over. Here, I truthfully do believe it matters, not because they're looking to rob the foreign fighter, but because the commission is used to watching a style. Boxing is so great in their tradition that when they watch someone win the boxing exchanges for 2 minutes and lie on their back for 3 minutes, they still might give it to the boxer, right? Yeah. And especially she's Mexican, especially they're going to be cheering her, especially she's got a lot of things going her way. So I think Carla Esparza plus 100, it's not even dog money. At least give me some dog money. I think that's the play. However, I'm sweating it. And that's why it's another fight. Don't really have the biggest interest. And on the DK side of things, like not happening. Carla might grind her.
I mean, Carla's the play on DK. If you
I think you pass.
If Grasso is a better athlete and she's able to get up a bunch of times, 7,800 Carla Esparza, like what her game plan is. Her game plan is to move forward, and she doesn't sway away from that. Like she will just go in there and try to blast doubles. Now, if it doesn't work, her floor will be like 10 points. But if it does work, like you can get 80 points out of her if she's able to like get a couple takedowns per round. Grasso's able to get back up, a little bit of striking mixed in. Like I could see it playing out okay. I prefer her to Grasso. Grasso I just think is a bad play.
It could be.
Like she has to get the knockout. She has to put on a Joanna Jędrzejczyk versus Carla Esparza type of fight.
Right, but when Jędrzejczyk fought Esparza, right? Jędrzejczyk was just known as a young striker who nobody really knew much about, but she's on her way up. And Carla is the collegiate wrestler that's going to get the fight to the ground. When it doesn't happen, she gets pieced up. Now, Carla's actually improved significantly since then. But I'm not saying Grasso reminds me of Jędrzejczyk because she doesn't. It's just important to note that here's a young fighter, very young at the time, when she loses to Felice fucking Herrig. Like, oh, man. But then after that fight, she gets out-grappled, but beats Ronda Marcos. The improvements are there. She's making the improvements.
For sure.
And then they give her Tatiana Suarez. Like, the improvements? No. Lifetime improvements are not going to get you ready for what she's bringing. It's not going to matter. And then she fights Carolina, a perennial contender, makes her look bad. Like you said, the best fight that she's looked in. So now you get the impression, 26, she trains from here. She is getting better. We're going to get an improved version of her. I think that she could have enough to beat Carla. And Carla has the better style. Styles make fights. Carla has a better style to win this fight. Fucking pass, man. Straight up. First 2 fights on the card. I'm not feeling overly confident about them.
For those who don't get to the end of the episode, Cody, we always force Cody to make Pogi Rob's parlay.
I will make picks, yeah.
So he will have a pick, but yeah, it's a dicey start to this card. As we said at the beginning, don't lose all of your profits from the previous 2 weeks. Just pick your spots on this card, in my opinion, at least. Moving on down the card, we have ASKAROV taking on Brandon Moreno. ASKAROV is 8,800, minus 165 favorite. Brandon Moreno, 7,400, and plus 145. Who you got here?
Yeah, I got to go with ASKAROV. He's the ACB champ, and I mean, the guy is just like a submission machine. And I don't mean just like conventional submissions. I mean, by any means necessary. He hit the radar probably, 2015, Kirill Medvedovsky. Chokes him out, no problem. Beyond that, Jose Maria Tomei is UFC veteran and a Anaconda choke 5th round, right? Cardio for days. Next fight, Anthony Leone. People probably don't remember Anthony Leone. He was a Bellator veteran, really solid, especially good grappler. He hits him with a twister, 3rd round. Doesn't slow down. He's a flyweight. I mean, they don't typically slow down. But even though he's fighting the Mexican fighter in Brendan Moreno, who now trains in Colorado at Elevation, like I don't think a 3-round fight is going to be an issue for him because he's used to going deep into 5s and still looking effective enough. And then his last fight again, I mean, he's just submissions right across the board. I would be a little bit worried it's like he's not going to get that early submission, but truthfully, it doesn't matter because he's getting the later submission, so he's able to carry. The problem I have with Brandon Moreno is that like he almost like shocked everybody with that fight on the Ultimate Fighter with Pantoja, and then getting into the UFC fights with Sergio Pettis, Pantoja again, Mikael Perez. Like, he's fun, he's exciting, but the improvements are just not there. What remember when he caught Louis Smolka with the guillotine and it was just like, oh man, this kid's 22 years old and he's gonna be good. And they maybe rushed him a little bit, but he's just not that level. And this is gonna be the problem. I don't see him having the wrestling ability to be able to take Askarov down. I don't see him being able to grapple with Askarov. Maybe he's able to strike for a little bit, and maybe we're talking about that hometown rub, but like I feel like you can't give a guy a hometown rub when he's clearly losing the fight. So I'm going to go to Askarov. It's minus 165. I'm not super confident. It is his UFC debut. He is now fighting 10,000 feet. I mean, he's only ever fought in Russia. So now you're moving the guy all the way to Mexico City. It's going to be a adrenaline
card
dump.
in Russia, or they had no, it was the Abu Dhabi card. Never mind.
Still, why didn't you put him on that? There was a ton of Russians on that card. Like you could have theoretically worked this guy in at some point, but you sent him all the way to Mexico to fight the local Mexican guy who is not local. I mean, you know what I mean. He lives in America. He's pretty much
just
American.
an interesting position.
Yeah, it's a very odd.
Are they trying to prop up the local guy? Usually
so.
they are, but like sometimes they just like to showcase this for like the television, right? The television dynamic.
I almost feel like he's a, I don't want to say a busted prospect, but in some senses, I'm not seeing it out of there.
Yeah.
Like how big was it when he choked out Dustin Ortiz? Like who does that? But like I was saying, the win over Smolka, the win over Ortiz, like it seems like A, maybe a flash in the pan, and B, he's got to get it done with his grappling on like a quick submission. Catch a guy with a quick submission with his grappling. Because I don't see that happen with Askarov. I feel like Askarov gets the win. So yeah, Askarov would be the play. The 8,800, he's going to have to submit him. And I mean, kid's actually a decent enough grappler. I don't see it happening.
Yeah,
especially,
I don't have any problem paying up for him, to be perfectly honest.
I'm
Like this
not
card has like so many. You're not going to play.
No, I wouldn't personally.
Really?
Because he gets submissions
up
late,
above
Paul,
9,000. Like these are not great options this week.
I guess this is not a great card.
No, it's hard to feel good about anybody, to be perfectly honest. Anyway, let's move on. We got Rena Aldana, who's the biggest favorite on the card. She's minus 5,000 favorite, and
500, but yeah,
minus 5,000. Sorry, I said that. Minus 500. That would be something else. Minus 500. She's 9,400 on DraftKings. She's taking on something called Vanessa Melo, who's 6,800 plus 400. How bad is this Melo girl? Because I'm not in the business of laying 5-1 on Aldana. I know she's making improvements. She trains with Grasso, who's on this card as well. From that Mexican gym, I forget where it's in Guadalajara. I forget the name of the gym.
Entrom?
No, it's not that.
Yeah.
It starts with a G or something, doesn't it? Either way, they train together, so they'll be ready. Like, obviously, it's a setup spot for Aldana, but I don't know. Minus 500. Talk me on or off of this one, Cody.
Yeah. Honestly, this is one that I don't have a super hot take. The thing with this Vanessa Melo is Vanessa Melo just basically was a Brazilian regional fighter for a long time. Fought a couple of okay opponents.
They're both 11-5, but like Aldana's fought named fighters and like at this level for a bit.
Right. So for example, Vanessa Melo has a 2015 win over Molly McCann, right? But I mean, like Molly McCann's not overly impressive. No. And Molly McCann was 1-0 at the time. This girl had 8 pro fights. Yep. She then loses her next fight by split decision to a 5-3-1 fighter and then takes 2 years off.
Doesn't sound good.
She's that kind of Brazilian regional fighter, but she rattles off, a couple decent wins. And then she fought for that Battlefield FC. It's a Korean promotion that was notoriously known for having a first show, not paying 75% of the card, and getting flamed online, putting a second card together, somehow still convincing people to fight on said show, and then not paying them again. Poor Will Brooks. It's just like an embarrassment altogether, right? But she fought Jan Finney on that second show. She beats Jan Finney by decision. I didn't see anything that I was overly impressed with. Like, she's better than Finney, obviously, but Finney's 11-13. Like, it just, I'm not quite seeing it. Now, the problem with the thing with Irene Aldana is Irene Aldana always was supposed to be better than she actually ended up being. You always wanted to see a little bit more out of her. And you always think, just like we're talking about her stablemate Alexa Grasso, like, oh, they're going to make the improvements. But it's like, Grasso is making improvements. Aldana isn't. Aldana's last fight with Bethe Correia, it's like, that's a setup opponent here. Bethe Correia is just going to run
so slow.
She's going to run into your counter punches.
T-Rex arms, whereas Aldana's got like super long reach, super long for the division. Like, yeah, it should have been a tee-up fight just to like for her to circle around the outside and just piece her up.
And in the first round, she does a decent job. She wins the first round.
Yeah.
Second job, mad pressured. She just the same chopping overhand right, just lands at will, right? And Bethe Correia pressures her, wins the second round, and then she belly down arm bars bench in the third round, like crazy stuff. But well, I guess in women's MMA, arm bars tend to happen. But all the same, it's just like she's not making the necessary improvements. She's getting older. I'm not seeing it out of it, right? But now we're gonna send her home. We want to build her back up. We want to get her maybe a string of wins potentially. I don't know. Maybe she's a fan favorite over there, but they're giving her Grasso. They're giving Grasso a very tough fight, but B, a bad style clash. Whereas Melo, they're giving her like a very winnable fight, and it's a good style clash for her. The problem is, it's just like, I'm not sold on her. If she was 250, I'd be loading up. If she was, that's about it. That's the highest I would pay. Just, no, I'd pay maybe 300. But 500 is just ridiculous. The 9,400, if I'm not paying up for Askarov, and I'm not paying Grasso, and I'm not paying, I would pay Yair. He's only 8,200. But yeah, I guess if I had some money, it's like she's being set up here to beat this girl up. The thing is that Melo's never been finished. I mean, so what indication do I have?
Your boy Tristan Connolly was getting set up last week to lose in his home country too.
Yeah. And you know what? If you got a hot take on Melo, she's plus 400. Like, why not take a stab at it? But I don't have a take on her, and so it's just another one of these fights that your best bet is just to steer clear. Like, that's honestly, in my opinion, I am picking Irene Aldana. I think it's a bad price. That's the call.
Same here. Martin Bravo takes on Steve Ocho Peterson. Your boy. There's a lot of your boys on this one. 8,100 across the board. Minus 115 Bravo. Minus 105 Peterson. Who you got?
You know what's sad is that this is known as a very greasy card. We're openly laughing at it. The comment section will be filled of what's the fight.
Like, how do we make a lineup if you're passing on every fight?
How do I have so many boys on this card? Damn. But I really like Steven Peterson. I mean, he's fun. And here's the thing. There's a difference between fun fighters and fighters that you want to lay actual real hard-earned money on.
Yeah,
that are gonna fight a good game plan and get you the win. And the thing with Steven Peterson is like
he just goes to war.
His head does not move. He goes to war. He's got a good gas tank, which he's gonna need because he's going way up in the air here. But Martin Bravo, I guess he should theoretically have the advantage from he's gonna have the hometown pop. He's gonna have all these things. When you look at Bravo, it's like I don't ever think he was supposed to be good, but he won the Ultimate Fighter at least, beating Claudio Puelles, which, in hindsight, is a joke, like it's not a real tough crown, but he wins this tough crown and then he loses to Humberto Bandenay, who booted him in the head, and he lost to Bruce Leroy by split decision, just like Bruce Leroy always fights to his opponent's level. But his boxing doesn't look bad. He throws combination, he throws decent heat, he goes to the body, which I like, and he seems to be able to carry maybe a little bit later into rounds, which he'll probably need in this situation. With Peterson's way better on the ground, I think. But Peterson's going to be a little bit smaller than him. He's going to be a little bit weaker than him. And I don't know that I can have any faith in his ability to just take the fight to the ground, especially because his brain is going to be like, fuck it, let's just stand and bang. We're in Mexico, they're cheering, let's do it. And if he's going to play that game, he's going to get hit because Bravo's probably a better boxer. I mean they're on a similar level.
At 10,000 feet.
But at 10,000 feet...
Like, Steve Peterson's not making bank. So, like, I can't imagine that he's been over there for multiple weeks and stuff.
You know what?
I could be wrong, but, like,
yeah,
the fighters lower on the pay grade, like, it's hard. That's, you see, like, when C-Level versus...
C-Level Kane.
C-Level Kane versus, what was the other one? Or basically when he fought in Mexico City against Fabricio Verdum. Verdum was over there for 3 months, and Kane went over there for what?
A week,
like 6 days or something like that.
And
it's just like
you had never seen
Steve Peterson
Kane
showing up on the Monday because that's when the UFC starts paying for his hotel. Like, I don't think this guy's doing a camp over there. Like, he fights at a really high pace. Is he going to be ready in round 3? to continue to go.
Yeah, Kyle Nelson did his camp at the UFC Performance Institute, right?
Mhm.
They flew him out Tuesday,
Okay.
for the fight. Do
Yeah.
you think Steve Peterson's being flown out
No.
any earlier? Like, no, it's not. You're
Exactly.
going out there, you're staying at the fighter hotel, you're getting it done. Will that affect his cardio? That remains to be seen. If it just becomes a sloppy boxing match, I think Bravo's got the tools to keep it close. And if it's close and he's getting the pop, they're going to give it to Martin Bravo.
Mm-hmm.
Problem again here is that it's priced accordingly. It's
Yeah,
minus
it's a pick 'em.
115, 105. It's a pick 'em fight. Do I think that Peterson gets finished? No. Do I think Peterson could get a finish? Yes. I think Peterson could knock out Bravo, and he could submit Bravo as well, right? So I would lean on that as a DK play, especially because I've been passing on other ones. I see good enough upside to Steven Peterson that if I need a guy at $8,100, he's got the ability to finish this fight. He is priced
And you know that
accordingly.
he fights at a high pace.
Yeah.
Like he's
But am I confident he's going to win? It's a 50-50 fight.
Yeah.
But if he does win, he's going to get me my points, and that I am confident in.
cool. We got Jose Quinones taking on Carlos Huachin. Quinones 8,700 minus 145 favorite. Huachin 7,500 plus 125. Tell us about this one.
Well, yeah, well, it's another crap fight, but ultimately Carlos Huachin is a one-dimensional power puncher, right? He probably shouldn't be in the UFC to begin with, but they needed a guy. They were in his own backyard. It makes sense, right? They went to that Peru card, and we need a guy. Sorry, they didn't go to Peru. They bring him in, and he fights Raoni Barcelos, which is just like
Yeah, they're setting you up to lose.
setting him up to lose. So I tape study him for that fight, and the problem is he fights such a low level of opposition. It's really hard to gauge where he's at, and because he's fighting in Peru, when things don't go his way, they'll give him the rub, like they'll give him a draw. They'll do whatever they need to do to help this guy out, and he doesn't lose. That they're trying to build up his record to get him to the UFC. Mission accomplished. They build up his record. He gets to the UFC. He didn't look awful in the Barcelos fight, considering Barcelos really is my boy. And he came out to bang. That's what he does. That's what he's capable of doing. And that alone makes him a little bit dangerous against most people. He's not from Mexico. He's from Peru. I don't know if that'll have anything to do with the crowd. I don't know. It doesn't matter, right? Whereas Quinones is Mexican, probably should be. But the difference here, Paul, is that Quinones is a lot more versatile. And he's got a lot more UFC experience.
Yeah, we've seen his grappling really improve over the years.
You're looking at a guy in HUACHIN who is he's 0-1 in the UFC, sorry, right? He's still a young enough guy, and he really hasn't been able to like experience a whole lot. Whereas look at Alberto Quinones. I heard somebody make the argument. They said his wins in the UFC are virtually over nobody. So you might be overvaluing him a little bit by thinking, hey, this guy's going to go out there and get the win. But Chimmy Morales, Joey Gomez, and Teruto Ishihara, I would argue all of those guys beat this upcoming opponent. So I feel like he's almost getting a step down in competition, losing to Nathaniel Wood, a young up-and-coming prospect. Oh, that's all. I don't want to say good for you, but like, you're fighting at a level way higher.
Way
than this.
higher, yep.
I feel like he pushes a decent enough pace. I feel like he's got a good kick game. He's a little bit more rangy. He's just going to have to get out of that first round and then take it into his domain. So I got Quinones, the $8,700. Again, if I'm looking for somebody who's in that upper price range, I don't think that he's the worst play in the world. I don't think this kid's got a great chin that he's up against. So maybe he can exploit that. And if he doesn't exploit that, push the pace, take him into deep waters, score me some points, minus 145, decent enough. That would be the play. Again, it sounds like this is one of my more confident plays on the card.
And you're still not feeling...
And that's just because the other fights I'm not feeling great
it's-
about. But I mean, like, is it my play of the week? I guess we'll get to that at the end of the show.
We have Kyle Nelson taking on Marco Polo Reyes. Kyle Nelson, 8,600 minus 115. Polo Reyes, 7,600 minus 105. Kyle Nelson, as you just said, coming from the Performance Institute for this fight camp, flying into Mexico City. He didn't have a great gas tank in previous fights, to be perfectly honest. He seems to come out pretty hot, and then he kind of tails off. I don't like his chances against many people in the UFC. I know UFC level doesn't mean the same that he used to, but I don't like his chances, especially at 10,000 feet against a Mexican guy. But like Polo Reyes, you know, when you go through that record, the guys that he's beaten are basically all, except for like Dong Hyung Ma, are basically all not in the organization anymore. Like
Dong Hyun Ma, is he still in the organization? Because if so, he's just holding on.
Yeah, he's holding on by a thread. Anyway, I would lean towards Polo Reyes here, just based on being from there, and I think perceived at least gas tank. Like if he can fight like he did against Dong Hyun Ma at that type of pace, I'm confident that he can last 3 rounds at altitude. in his home country.
Yeah, you would think so, but that fight probably also ruined him. And that's
Yeah.
that's the problem here is that Kyle Nelson's a fast starter, and this guy's getting prone now to getting knocked out very early into his fights. So it is almost a little bit worrisome that if Nelson's going to win this fight, he's gonna take him out quick. Flip side of that, if Polo Reyes is going to win this fight, he's got to survive that early onslaught, get him tired. I think he nailed it pretty much here. Kyle Nelson hasn't shown great gas tank in the UFC, mostly because, you know, he's frenetic when he gets in there. He's frantic a little bit. He goes at it. Maybe blows his load a bit early. The pressure gets to him. The moment gets to him. Who knows? The Matt Sales fight, I thought he put up a decent go that second round, man. Like, had me in all sorts of worries. Go fishing for the rear naked choke. Then you get thinking, okay, this guy's ground game's not that bad. Like, when he's on top, he's big, thick, strong kid. He can hold you down. Ground and pound's okay. Third round, unfortunately, he doesn't get the fight back to the ground. Matt Sales just picks him apart standing. Matt Sales is a much better striker. His first fight against Carlos Diego Ferreira, he's up a weight class. Carlos Diego Ferreira is a far better striker and grappler. He's giving up advantages. But in this fight, what advantages is he giving up? He's a better wrestler. He's a better grappler. And whereas I'd say he's not the better striker, he's got a much better chin than Polo Reyes. So maybe he can capitalize there. If you see pictures of him from his last fight camp to this fight camp,
He looks a lot better this time.
holy fuck, he looks a lot better.
Okay.
But the 10,000 feet worries me extremely because it doesn't matter what kind of
Yeah,
shape
you put on a
look.
bunch of muscle.
Yeah,
it doesn't mean that
right.
it changes your cardio.
Who gives a shit if your abs are more pronounced? Who
Yeah.
gives a shit if you've got, you know,
You
you're
hope
more
that
vascular?
I mean, he's at the
really.
Performance Institute. They probably working on his overall performance.
Yeah. And listen, he's 0-2 in the UFC. This is do or die for him. So he says, you know what? I'm going to move out of Huntsville, Ontario and stop training in Hamilton for the time being, even though his camp in Hamilton's a very good gym. It's like, I got to go to Vegas and I got to take this seriously. He looks the part. I'd say that he probably wins this fight. The 10,000 feet for a guy that has cardio issues, that is worrisome. But then going back to Polo Reyes, right? James Vick's much better fighter. Sparks him in the first round, right? Damir Hadzovic. It's not that Damir Hadzovic sparks him in the second round. Is that Damir Hadzovic out-grapples him, Paul. Damir Hadzovic can't grapple for shit. So the fact that he's out-grappling you, Kyle Nelson, if he chooses to, is going to get him down and take him out.
Grappling is going to make you that much more tired
Yeah,
when
and
you're
then-
at 10,000 feet, though. There's the factoring into that.
Yeah, it's a pass fight. But here's the one thing that makes this fight not a pass fight. It's even on the money line. And Polo Reyes is $1,000 cheaper than Kyle Reyes.
Exactly.
So you would think he's going to have high ownership.
Yeah.
And if you go with Kyle Nelson and Kyle Nelson does win this fight, he's going to have to win it early. He could win it early. Yeah. And he's not going to be on the higher. So if you got some money, you're playing some lineups, he's not the worst look.
Interesting. All right, we got Angela Hill taking on Ariane Carnelossi. Angela Hill, 8,500 minus 150 favorite. Carnelossi is 7,700 plus 130. This girl, Anna Carnelossi, looks like she takes her strength and conditioning very, very, very seriously.
No, I think...
I don't know if you catch my drift.
I think she takes her wig game very seriously because I think this is Husamar motherfucker Bahar is trying to get back in the UFC. You see her, she is...
Jack City.
Yeah, but Angela Hill is a far better fighter. The problem is that this one could get greasy because it's a greasy stylistical clash, and this other girl's clearly going to be ready. Also, that Sarah Froda just got popped today, and it's like when she fought, you got an impression that she was. And listen, she wasn't a great fighter.
No,
but it's
she
like,
still lost.
She's still lost, so maybe it didn't make a difference, but it made her far better than she was.
Oh, she would have been way worse.
She was raw, but she was so strong. This girl's got a lot more experience. It is also raw.
She didn't look that bad on tape. Like I watched a little bit of tape on there. She looked like a classic Brazilian pressure fighter.
Yeah, which
and
is
like
what
that's
Angela
going to be
Hill does not
that's
want
a
to
clash
fight.
of styles with Angela Hill. She's going to try to stay on the outside, and it's going to be, can Angela Hill sting her enough? And
no,
I don't think so. Like I'm going to wait until the week carries on here, and like check out the weigh-ins, make sure that like what I saw on tape from that girl from her last fight is the same girl who shows up to this fight before I make any action. But I'm leaning towards fading Hill here. and taking the newcomer.
Yeah. The plus 130 is the appealing thing here, is that we've seen Hill struggle with pressure fights. Hill is a far superior striker. And what we mean by that is that she's got better kicks, she's got better punches, she's got ranger strikes, she's got good punch output, but she's a Muay Thai stylist. The problem with being a Muay Thai stylist is that when you watch Muay Thai, both guys are agreeing to stand in front of each other at range almost and bomb on each other. That's when she would fight the best. When you pressure her and you back her up and you put her up against the cage and you muscle her around and you work dirty boxing, that's when you could potentially have the advantage. I see this as a dog or pass. Plus 130, is that good enough a price tag to take that shot on the dog? Play it out fight week. Let's see. And also, I see a little bit of love for Hill coming in. So Hill should probably take on a little additional money.
Yeah, she's a recognizable name on a card of a lot of unrecognizable names.
Yeah, you also,
to some people.
You also can't overlook the fact, I hear people talking about this all the time, right? It's that Angela Hill is 9-7 and her opponent's 12-1. So fight-wise, they got relatively, it's a debuting fighter. What you got to realize about Angela Hill, right? She's got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. She's got 8 UFC fights to her credit. Sorry, 9 UFC fights to her credit, right? Those UFC fights include fighting the former champion, Rose Namajunas, right? She also fought the former champion, Jessica Andrade. She also fought the current champion, Zhao Yanyan, or how you pronounce that, my bad. She also fought perennial top contender, Nina Ansarov. Like, she's got 11 fights in the UFC. She's fought 2 former champions and the current champion. She's got a lot of experience, and she's fighting a debuting fighter, and you can have her for minus 150. Like, it seems almost too good. The 8,600, like, no, and that's never going to happen.
That's 80, yeah, it's 85. That's a typo on your
page. Yeah, okay, sorry. The 8,500, I wouldn't be particularly interested in that. But the minus 150, it feels like, damn, dude, I can have someone who's fought all the best against someone who won a split decision over a can opponent literally 12 months ago.
Yeah.
So which one are you going to go with? But because Usad is likely going to catch her 6 months from now, it's not going to do my bankroll fucking difference. You think a no contest gets little Cody his money back? It doesn't, Paul.
No.
And for that
Give
reason,
me all the juicers. I'll bet juicers all day long.
For that reason.
Give me them.
I know this is getting probably very frustrating to listen to, but like, it's probably a fucking pass. Like, it's not a good fight.
I want to see how this girl looks. Like, I'm not jumping in yet just from what I want to see her on fight week, and sometimes you just get a good feeling. It's like Akhmedov versus Zach Cummings a couple weeks ago. I was pretty torn on that fight, and then when I saw him at the weigh-ins, I'm like, oh, Akhmedov's going to kill him. Like, he's a considerably better athlete.
Yeah, but what if she shows up on the scale, looks awesome, and then right before she goes out, director comes up to her and says, yo, we're looking to cast somebody in the lead for She-Hulk. We're interviewing a couple different actresses, whatever, but you fit the part.
Yeah.
Throw this fight, get out of your contract, and we're going to cast you in a fucking big film. Then you don't know those temptations, Paul, because no one's ever approached you and asked you to be a star in a big film, but the temptations are there. And so
it's a risk, it's a risk I'm willing to take.
It's a risk I'm willing to take. Anyways, the bottom line here is that I don't love this one.
Yeah, me neither. We got, all right, first things first. Sergio Pettis. He needs a new agent, man. How the hell? Sergio Pettis takes on Tyson Nam.
Short notice replacement, but yeah,
Short notice replacement. Who's he supposed to fight in this spot?
Let me just bring it up here. It was a good fight. Alex Perez.
Either way, though, man, you're Sergio Pettis. Like, you were like the golden boy. There's a lot
the Alex Perez fight was a bad style for him, and a no-name fighter. Like, the casual doesn't know Alex Perez. He's tough.
No, but I'm saying just him being this far down this type of card.
Wow.
Like,
he's 1-3 his last 4.
It's a lot of disrespect, man.
Think so?
For just having the Pettis name. I don't know. You need a new agent there, bud. Like, they're just burying you down here. Anyways, I shouldn't be kicking dirt at this guy. He's 1-3 in his last 4 fights. We got Sergio Pettis 9,300 minus 345 favorite. Tyson Nam 6,900 and plus 285. Any hot takes here?
Yeah, well, the big story here is that Tyson Nam is making his UFC debut. Mm-hmm. Oh man, long time coming. 35 years old for those of you and most of you who don't know who Tyson Nam is. Tyson Nam was 11-4 when he took on Eduardo Dantas. Dantas at the time is 2012. Dantas is the Bellator champ. Nobody in Bellator is at his level. He's smoking through them. Bellator can't even find anybody for this guy to fight. Shudo Brazil says, hey, why don't you come back here? We'll give you a fight. It's a stay busy. It's the biggest stay busy. He's got to get Bellator, Bjorn Rebney, to sign a release saying he can go to Brazil and take this fight. And Bjorn looks at the opponent, Tyson Nam, says, yeah, absolutely, lets him go. Tyson Nam, Hawaiian fighter, super misleading because he like lives and trains out of Portland, Oregon, longtime guy. He's Ricky Simon, one of Ricky Simon's top training partners. Doesn't grapple though. That's like, again, his whole thing is very misleading. But he goes out there and knocks out Eduardo Dantas. That puts him on the map. Right after he won that, every promotion offers him a contract. He's a free agent at the time. Bellator offers him a contract because they want to do a rematch for the title in Bellator. UFC offers him a contract. He turns them down. Not enough money. He takes a World Series of Fighting contract, immediate title shot against Marlon Moraes, and gets sparked in the first round against Marlon Moraes with a head kick. It's like, hey, at least he took a shot. It is what it is. Then he loses a fight to Cody Bollinger, his next outing. I thought he won, but still, he lost to Cody Bollinger. Then World Series of Fighting cuts him. He goes to California, loses to Jeremiah Lebiano, and then he goes to Brazil and loses to Fernando Vieira. He goes from the biggest win of his career to a 4-fight losing streak. So it almost feels like, flash in the pan. He builds up a bit, he beats some journeyman. And then, dude, last year he lands in Russia. And for whatever reason, the guy likes Russian air. He's not on any juice. I'm not making that joke. But I just mean, like, he fights extremely well in Russia. But, again, it's almost misleading. The Ali Bagatina fight, he's losing. It's a 5-round title fight, so he's got time to work. But he loses the first round. He waits too long for looking for the big strike. He loses the second round. He waits too long looking for the big strike. In the third round, he's probably losing, and there's 1 second left right before the buzzer. He knocks Bogatinov off with a head kick. So it's just like, damn, landed that big strike. Wins his next fight, loses one, whatever. The problem in this fight is that whereas to beat Sergio Pettis, you'd love to out-grapple him. You got to use your wrestling a little bit. This guy, longtime Portland, Oregon guy, doesn't grapple almost whatsoever. He's got a draw with Yoni Sherbatov. There's another one. Sherbatov wins the first round. Sherbatov wins the second round, loses a point because of an accidental low blow to the groin. And then Tyson Nam wins the third round, and it's a draw. So he's got a draw with Sherbatov. But it's like there's a fight that you probably should have lost again. You lost 2 of the 3 rounds. That point deduction helped you out. So he's not super spectacular, but he's at least fought good competition. He's super tough. He's durable enough. I'm glad that he's getting his UFC debut, and I'm glad that for the first time in his career, he'll be on this big of a platform because he deserves it. But this is a tough fight. You're taking a fight on 3 weeks' notice. Now you got to go to... He was training for a fight anyway, so he was in camp, but he wasn't training for Sergio Pettis at 10,000 feet, Paul. He was training for a fight at sea level with a 3-2 opponent. In his last few opponents, his opponent prior to that's 5-7. Like, he's not fighting anybody good. And so that difference between fighting mid-level Hawaiian journeyman to fighting Sergio Pettis, that talent jump, that's going to affect him. The fact that he's basically just a striker and he's going to have to rely on outstriking Sergio Pettis is going to affect him. The fact that Sergio Pettis is coming back down to 125 is going to be very good for Sergio Pettis. And as much as we make the joke of like, man, Sergio Pettis is 1-3 in his last fights. His last fight was at 135 against Rob Font. And his other 2 losses are the current champion, bend the knee to Triple C Henry Cejudo, who he went the distance with. Yep. Yusir Formiga, a fucking badass, who he went the distance with.
Been fighting the
and
best
he's
guys.
got a split decision win over Joseph Benavidez. The only man to beat Joseph Benavidez in a long time in a non-title fight. Like, he's maybe getting a bad rap because of that 1-3. So I feel like this is an opportunity to capitalize. But the 345, don't like it. The $9,300.
Because we've seen him get knocked out by Ryan Benoit.
The only time he's been knocked out. But you're right, yeah. Like Ryan Benoit knocked him out.
That was out of nowhere.
It was at 135. Was that 135? I think it was at 135.
I think it was 125.
Yeah,
and he went up to 135 because he worried about his chin. And
Bruce
now
Lee,
we know. Then he
him
went up to
out.
135, realized he's too small for that. I don't know.
Yeah.
Anyway.
So
we like Pettis.
I don't like 345 and I don't like the 9,300.
No, I don't like him because he's an outside striker.
Yeah, and Marlon Moraes kicked.
That's what I was saying. It's like,
but this guy ain't.
It's hard to pay. It's hard to pay up for these people. Like, you don't want to pay $9,400 for Irina Aldana. Yeah, like everyone's gonna, I think, naturally kind of end up with like a mid-range type of lineup. But I'm wrong on that shit all the time.
Whatever you end up with, you won't be confident in it. That's all
I can assure you of that. All right, we move on down the card. This is going to be fucking ugly, by the way. Vincius Moreira takes on Paul the Bear Jew Craig, 8,300 Moreira, and he's a -120 favorite. Paul the Bear Jew Craig is 7,900 and +1. So you plus 100. So you have 2 like guard pullers.
No, only 1 guard puller. Vinicio, he'll try to get on top. That's his game. He doesn't want to be on 2
guys with who both kind of like to go to their grappling.
Oh yeah.
And
one-dimensional.
very one-dimensional, and their striking is absolutely disgusting looking, like so bad. And they're 205 pounds, and we're putting them at 10,000 feet. Like, this fight has just like ugly written all over it. I'm not touching it with a 10-foot pole.
Yeah.
Are you?
Yeah. Well, I think it's going to be a fun fight. I think I want to go with Vinicius Moreira. Price is right at 120. But yeah, see, a very wild fight that could shape. If they fought 10 times, I'd expect it to be 5-5 with strange endings in all 10 of them. Because, I mean, it seems like it's going to be that kind of fight. The 10,000 feet does not help. If you put this fight at,
At sea level, it's ugly.
Yeah. It's just like, I don't understand. Could be a fun fight, right? But why put it on this card? It almost reminds you of the time they put Mark Hunt versus Ben Rothwell in Denver. It was just like, there's no nonsensical to put them at altitude, because after 5 minutes, they're going to be tired. Both of these guys tire on the regular. Both these guys like to go to their grappling. Paul Craig is an atrocious striker, and therefore that gives him the striking advantage over Vinicius Moreira, who's a non-existent striker. Vinicius Moreira seemingly has chin issues, in that Alonzo Menafield and Eric Anders absolutely crushed him in his last 2 fights respectively, but those guys are actually power punchers, whereas like Paul Craig has 1 career knockout. Actually, Paul Craig has 1 career knockout, and Vinicius Moreira has 1 career knockout. They're not power punchers. So even if he does chin check this guy's got a big old melon on him, a real big nose too. Even if he does chin check him, I think he'll be okay. He's definitely faster. He's more mobile. If he stays on the outside for a little bit, he'll be okay. And he's got decent enough like kicks to the body and shit to maybe just like flim flam, as Robin Black would say, keep it interesting. But he doesn't get the gas tank to flim flam for more than 5 minutes. And the other problem is he gets cut off.
He can't do his regular move, which is to pull guard.
If he pulls guard, he's fucked. Because if Vinicius Moreira gets on top of him, then it's game over for him. His best bet is to try to keep it standing. But even if he does keep it standing, it's like, what's the best outcome here? And this Moreira guy can't wrestle.
If this fight stays
But he'll
standing, like, the
try.
winner could score like 35 points. Actually, what's the bonus is like 30 points. So like the winner could score like 40 something. Like it could be like
Maybe
that.
it'd be like 47 to 50.
Low volume.
Yeah, I don't. Yeah,
Watch these guys go out and have like fight of the night.
I think it could be fight of the night, just because. Well, when both guys are tired and they both have their hands down and they're swinging or whatever the case may be, it's not the most
MMA
technical
trader.
thing.
The MMA trader will just be losing his mind.
Well, I
during
mean,
this
it's
this
almost
this is his gem right here.
Yeah, it could be that, or it could go the other way. It could be Dada 5000 Kimbo,
Oh, I hope so.
which is a fun fight, right?
Loved
People
it.
shit on the fight, but when you rewatch it,
It was
it's just like,
hilarious. I enjoyed watching every second of it.
it was a great
I
time.
just felt a little bit bad, like after the fact, when
Once
you
you
heard
knew-
that the guy was like in the hospital and almost died. But
When you know that Dada almost died and then Kimbo did die, then it's like, yeah, okay, maybe it takes some of the shine off it. But it's the same thing as like Kimbo versus Ken Shamrock. My heart hasn't pumped like that for a fight. Well, I had Kimbo by knockout, but yeah, my heart hasn't pumped like that in a long time, right? It's thrilling. This shit could be thrilling. It might only last 5 to 7 minutes, and somebody's likely going to get a finish. If you look at Paul Craig, like every single fight he's had in the UFC has been inside the distance. You beat him, he beats you. Whereas he seems like that submission guy, like, oh man, he beat Luis Henrique da Silva, BJJ black belt. He beat Ankalaev. Man, Ankalaev's like a master sport in combat sambo. He beat Kennedy Njokuanu. Didn't really know how to grapple. But yeah, he's got submission game. But like he also got submitted by Jimmy Crute. And we all seen like there's levels to this shit, you know? Like I think Paul Craig's still a brown belt. He's gonna be in trouble. Vinicius Moreira is a black belt. He's a good black belt. He's bigger, he's stronger, he's not taller, but I mean he's just like a physically thicker guy. And when he does get the fight to the ground eventually, he'll be okay. I've watched his last 5 fights. And it's like, it doesn't look good. But when he does get the fight to the ground and he is on top, very competent. And when you watch Paul Craig fight, you know at some point
he's going to end up
his opponent's going to end up, because he'll probably pull you on top of him. Like you always end up on Paul Craig at some point.
Yep.
And this ain't the guy. I don't see a Hail Mary submission coming to help him out.
So 8,300 could be an interesting play if he gets top pretty early in the fight.
Yeah, I'm definitely penciling in Moreira. But again, if I was to give you one lineup, yeah, there's going to be a couple guys on it that could get you 2 points.
Yep.
Yeah, he may be one of them. Maybe, but I don't see him getting knocked out, and I don't see him getting submitted. And Paul Craig's not going to win a decision.
He's a better grappler.
So what's the only
against a
other
shitty
likely
striker, and they're
outcome?
both shitty strikers. He could lose by decision, just be like that bad on the feet. Anyway, let's move on. We got Sajaro Eubanks taking on Betche Correia. Sajaro Eubanks 9,100 minus 250 favorite. Betche is 7,100 and plus 210. Can Sijara Eubanks take down and control that big old caboose on Petchy? Because that would be my concern. You know, fighting at 125, she struggled to make weight. Sijara Eubanks, I think she's immensely more talented, more skilled, more everything in this fight. My concern is at 10,000 feet. I'm not too concerned about her gassing because I don't think her cut is that severe getting down to 135. But it's just like when you're wrestling and like playing that type of game, maybe she doesn't do that at all. But if you're doing that game against somebody who's heavier than you at altitude, you can get really tired really, really fast. So that's my concern with Eubanks, but she is my pick. What about you?
Yeah, like I think she's a more skilled fighter all over, but I think where we are speculating about every fighter on this card about how the 10,000 feet are going to affect them, like I think it very much affect her. Maybe she's not having that same weight cut coming up from 125 to 135, but her last fight against Aspen Ladd, it's 135, and she flat out gasses.
She's just so much smaller than these women at
She's now going to be
135.
smaller at 135, and Betche is not particularly big, but if there's one thing we can give Betche is that she generally keeps coming forward. Like she's just scrappy. That's pretty much all it is to it. She's 36. Eubanks is, I think, 32. So it's not like they're, I would say they're both past their athletic prime, but it's how they match up right here. So if Eubanks goes out and pursues the takedowns, and that's her best path to victory here, just go out there and pursue those takedowns, is that's going to be tiring, right? And if it's the second and the third round and now she can't get the fight to the ground, like you remember her landing those big shots in Aspen Ladd, but like that's just because Ladd has absolutely no ability to block punches. Like she has both of her hands at her hip. She's really tired and she's just slugging the same punch over and over. It might be enough to work against Betche, but if Betche just keeps pressuring her, keeps moving forward, and going back to Betche versus Irene Aldana in her last fight, especially in that second round, it's like she can make this greasy, she can make this dirty. For 210, I'm interested in potentially looking at Betche as a possible option. But then you got to think, like she's on a massive losing streak.
Yeah, don't bet Betche.
No, exactly. Listen, this is Betche's run. She loses to Aldana where she got submitted. She loses to Holly Holm where she got booted in the head. That draw with Marion Renault.
This is another Sukumtath situation.
She's up 2 rounds against Marion Renault, and then she gets 10-8'd in the third round. Absolutely diced.
Yeah,
the Jessica I fight she won, fucking robbery and a half. And then she loses to Raquel Pennington and she got punched out by Ronda Rousey in 34 seconds. Not submitted, which is no big deal. She got punched out by Ronda Rousey in 34 seconds. So, like, that is unbelievable.
And that kind of commenced the whole Ronda versus Floyd Mayweather.
I know. What was up with that?
That's neither here nor there. So,
but one thing I got to say on, and this is why it makes it dangerous, is I made Betch just sound really bad, right? And based on how I just made her sound, 36, bad run, she's got a bad price tag, right? But now let's give Betche the benefit of the doubt for just a quick second. Irene Aldana fight. Doesn't look bad in that second round. There's a moment there. The Holly Holm fight. You got Holly Holm at plus money going into the third round because Betche was coming on. The Marion Renault fight. But she was up 2 rounds. So she's showing moments. There's moments. She's not like she gets blasted out of there really fast every time. And the way Eubanks likes to win is blast you out of there really quick. And the way she's got to win at 10,000 feet is blast you out really quick. So I would love to give you another Tristan Connolly play and be like, yo, Eubanks is probably better for the first 5 minutes and gasses, but I'm not nearly as confident. So your best bet is to pass, but I will label this one a dogger pass, and for that reason, I'm at least keeping my options open with Betche.
And finally, we've got Claudio Puelles taking on Marcos Mariano. Claudio Puelles, 9,000 minus 280 favorite. Marcos Mariano is 7,200 and plus 240. This is like that Marcos Rosa guy who had the most abysmal ground game I've ever seen in my life against Lando Venata. I
mean, Lando's okay, but yeah, it's like he got
Kimura
without even...
This was like Jacare's buddy who just happened to get a fight. Like this guy...
it was Anderson's buddy who happened to get a fight. And it was
Anderson's,
he's a poor man.
This guy is dust. Dust. Fade this guy. Don't bet this guy unless Cody tells me to bet him.
But here's the thing: is that Claudio Puelles is so bad that is there not a chance that Marcos Mariano beats him? Yeah. But here's my piece of advice: don't, in a shitty fight, the bottom of a shitty card, you always take the guy with the grappling advantage. You know what I mean? You have to. And Claudio Puelles is weak to the body. He's got a good chin, but he's weak to the body. When you look at his couple performances in the UFC, Martin Bravo knocks him out. He digs him to the body. His fight with Felipe Silva, he wins that fight. But I watched that place. Remember, I watched that fight at your house. I got Felipe Silva. Raps there. He's got Felipe Silva. I think you might have passed, which is the good call. And like Felipe Silva like 10-8s him in both of the rounds and is on his way to getting a third round stoppage. and then he gets knee barred. Like, it's the most embarrassing thing of all time. But the kid's got some guts. And what's best of all is that apparently he was just, you know, a poor kid from Peru, but he got a $50,000 bonus out of that. And so I'd like to see a kid like him, 24, 25 years old. Now he's finally got a big payday. By the way, 50,000 American in Peru is something like 10 or 12 million dollars. So maybe he's able to reinvest in his career a little bit, train, add some different wrinkles to his game. I think his striking is not very good. He's willing to throw. He stands way too upright. He doesn't really know how to move his feet particularly well, but he's got a good entry to his single leg. He doesn't got a good single leg. He doesn't use any other wrestling technique other than the single leg, but he's got a good ability to enter with the single leg, get a hold of his opponent, at least temporarily. And whereas a lot of guys will be able to move their hips and shuck him off, Marcos Mariano isn't one of them. Marcos Mariano's story is that he was supposedly the next Anderson Silva in that he fought in the Brazilian regional. He was fighting at 145 pounds, and he's 6'1". So he's really long. He comes from a Muay Thai base, just like Anderson Silva. And when you watch some of his like early kickboxing matches that he has online, he kind of dances around like Silva. He's kind of got like some of the same mannerisms, but he never panned out, Paul. He was never good. He never got to that level. When he left kickboxing and came to MMA, he never had any legitimate success in MMA other than he's got a split decision win over Ari Farias, who's a LFA standout right now and is actually a good fighter. But that was a long time ago. Farias had 2 fights. It is what it is. Since then, he's just fought like such an abysmal level of fighters and has been smoked out. The UFC, they need a win for Lando. Lando needs a guy, I think with short notice. Silva's on the card. They bring in this guy. It's a joke. He gets smoked out. He shows you very little. But he was outstriking Lando Venata.
For like, what, a minute?
For a minute. And then Lando Venata, who wrestled collegiately for half a year before dropping out and pursuing MMA full-time, takes him down very easily. And out-grapples him very easily and submits him very easily. But Claudio Puelles ain't fucking Lando Venata, you know what I mean? He can't wrestle with him, not even on the same level. He's not a good striker like Venata. He's not anything like Venata, right? So if he doesn't get the fight to the ground, he's going to get his ass kicked standing. It's just, I do believe he'll get the fight to the ground. It's just 280 is not the kind of price tag I want to play on Claudio Puelles.
Yeah,
I truthfully believe he's the worst fighter in the UFC. Only, like we discussed, there's so many bad guys now. You can't label anybody that because he might very well be fighting the other worst fighter in the UFC. But this is low-level shit. Puelles has also been off a year, doesn't have fantastic cardio, and he's not from Mexico City. He's from Peru. He's gonna have to go and suffer the same thing.
Altitude, man. Like, they're up in the mountains.
Right. And whereas striker versus grappler, I always take grappler. But tired striker versus tired grappler, dude, it's always tired striker because at least
he doesn't have to. Yeah, you don't need those explosive type of moments, right?
He'll just land the punches standing. If the grappler can't get the fight to the ground, there's no plan B, right? If the tired striker is just not getting taken down, or he's able to just muster up his ability to shuck off a couple, then he's got the advantage. Anyways, I'm gonna run down
run through this
because it's past City, which I'll get to after I run it down. But officially, I'm gonna go with Yair Rodriguez, I'm gonna go with Yair Rodriguez, Alexa Grasso, ASKAROV, Irene Aldana, Steven Peterson, Jose Quinones, Kyle Nelson, Ariane Carnelossi, Sergio Pettis, Vinicio Moreira, Jara Eubanks, and Claudio Puelles. But I don't like it. Now, on a more serious note, I would not have any interest in I would try to pass on this one. I would say your best. You got to
say which one is this one for the people listening.
I'm starting at the bottom.
I'm sitting across the table from you, and I don't even know what fight you're scratching out. You're
starting at the bottom here. Okay,
so scratch out Sajaro Eubanks versus.
Yeah. Well, as far as like
make sure you don't give the people a lineup here. We get in trouble.
I'm not gonna give a lineup. I'm just saying we passed on a lot of fights. I say Alexa Grasso and ESPARZA is the kind of fight you probably should pass on. I would say Bravo versus Peterson is the kind of fight you should pass on. I would say Hill versus Carnelossi you should pass on. Sanjara Eubanks versus
We're talking from a betting perspective. You end up having to play people on DraftKings.
Yeah, well, of course you're going to have to play people on DraftKings. I'm just trying to figure out what's my confident play of the week.
It sounds like it's Vincius Moreira.
No, I know.
It's just terrifying.
Okay, well, I'm going through process of elimination here, right?
Yeah.
So I'm gonna take off Kyle Nelson. I'm gonna take off Irene Aldana because she's minus.
God.
Well, she's minus 500.
The whole
right?
card is getting.
Pettis, I'll take him off because like giving you a 345 pick is
pretty weak sauce.
That's totally weak sauce here.
We have Puelles, Mariano left on the board. We have Vincius Moreira versus Paul Berju Craig left on the board. We have Jose Quinones versus Huachin. We have Askarov versus Moreno is still on there.
No, I took that one.
Oh, you took that one off too.
Oh, no. Yeah, okay. Okay, so this is what we're left with. Yeah, I would say maybe Askarov. I would say...
Well, we have 4 fights that you're... 4 fights that you're willing to bet on this card.
I'm going Quinones, minus 145. That's the play.
That's the play of the week.
Quinones 145.
Quinones 145. All right, thank you to Cody Saftic. Breaking down the fights with me as always.
Good luck, people. Good luck.
Good luck out there, guys. There's UFC Copenhagen next week. We should definitely have some better takes on that one. Then the following card after that is the
Australia,
big pay-per-view in Melbourne.
We'll have some big ones for that.
Like we're definitely gonna have plays on that one. Sometimes you just gotta know when to take it and when to leave it. So yeah, for Cody Saftic, I am Paul Shag saying goodbye and good luck.
Mayo experience! Experience!